Hey everyone, welcome back. So here's the big question. Who's really the villain in this story? When we usually think of a villain, we imagine someone out to cause harm. An obstacle, an enemy, the obvious bad guy. But in this story, it's not so clear. On one side, we've got the character who looks every bit the hero today. They put themselves on the line, they fight for others, and they're willing to sacrifice for the greater good. But here's the catch. Long ago, they made a choice to erase their own memories. We don't know why. Maybe it was to escape something too traumatic? Maybe something even darker. Because of that, they've forgotten the promises they once made and the bonds they once held. And now, those forgotten choices aren't staying buried. They're coming back in the worst way possible. In this story, the consequences of erasing the past have finally caught up to them, and they have to face it here and now. On the other side, we have someone driven by love. Their every action came from desire to protect those who mattered most. Their intentions weren't evil. If anything, they were noble. But love has a way of pushing people into dangerous territory, and in trying so hard to hold on, they made some mistakes that left scars of their own. So maybe the real question isn't who's the villain at all. Maybe it's whether either of them truly were. And with that in mind, let's see how their story unfolds. Frolova is a character introduced early in the story of Wuthering Waves. She serves as Fractus Overseer and always carries her Lycoris wand. In Japanese culture, Lycoris represents both life and death. In Japan, people honor their ancestors, and the blooming of these flowers serve as poignant reminders of the transient nature of life. And I have to give kudos to the voice actors for Frolova, and whoever found her. Her voice is so unique and perfectly fitting for such a distinct character and a deeply complex story. In this story, Rover partners with Frolova to find the gem of Leviathan. They also need to stop Fenrico from obtaining it. Both the Order and the Fractus are in pursuit. I used female Rover for this playthrough, so I'll refer to Rover as her. Frolova is injured and needs assistance. Time is not on her side, and they must hurry. They make their way to the tower that Frolova calls the Lost Beyond. She explains that it is her creation, her chance to fulfill every wish she couldn't grant before. Frolova describes it as a sphere beyond the reach of time, a new world never to be mauled by tragedy. To ensure the survival of the Lost Beyond, she needs the gem. When the Order came for the gem, Frolova used the last of her strength to hide it deep within the Lost Beyond. Now, she and Rover must retrieve it. She wanted to make sure that if she couldn't have it, no one could. Now, this next conversation really stood out to me. Let's take a listen to Frolova and Rover talking about trust.
Without the full picture, I can't trust you so easily.
Trust. How absurd to speak of trust between us. There is only one gem. No matter how this unfolds, we'll see which of us walks away with what they desire.
What struck me most about Frolova is her honesty and how direct she is. She points out that there is only one gem, and the reality is, only one of them will get what they want. Throughout this journey, Frolova is haunted by voices from her past. Not just voices, she sees visions of the people as well. It often seems like she's pulled somewhere within her own mind, talking to people from her past as if they're still alive. For me, this reflects her internal struggle. She's torn between letting these souls rest and clinging to them when they beg her to save them. In one of these other visions, we see Frolova talking to a little girl named Triss. Frolova questions whether what she's doing is right, or whether she should keep going. But Triss encourages her to continue.
Triss, do you want me to keep going with my plan?
Of course. I want to sing and sing forever.
Even though this isn't the home we once knew.
I know it's not. I'm not the same as I was either. I died in an accident hundreds of years ago, but I still feel me inside. And I can still laugh and sing. It doesn't feel any different. I know you can do it, Frolova. You'll bring everyone back, and I'll be right here waiting for you. I'll wait for that day.
In this scene, we start to see a side of Frolova that longs for peace. Triss mentions that she died over 100 years ago, which means Frolova has lived a very long life. You can see the exhaustion on her. She wants to let go of the world, but the voices from her past won't allow it. Throughout the story, we witness Frolova's ongoing conflict. She even risks her life recklessly, showing little care for her own well-being. At one point, Frolova and Rover are forced to separate because of a trap Fenrico sets. True to her straightforward nature, Frolova sees right through it. She acknowledges that their partnership is fragile, and that this trap was meant to exploit that. Not wanting to waste time, she offers Rover her baton, the only support she has in her weakened state. This means she'll have to return later to retrieve it. But she refuses to overthink Fenrico's scheme. She has goals to complete, and they part ways. As Rover explores the area, she discovers documents and studies Frolova conducted over the years. Research about preserving human consciousness. When we return to Frolova's perspective, she encounters Triss again. At first, it seems like another illusion, but since Rover also saw that same person earlier, we realize she's not just in Frolova's mind. Frolova immediately recognizes who she's facing.
Don't show yourself with her face, Grand Architect.
But you used to like it when I was like this.
Why are you here?
I promised you, didn't I? To let the elegy from the beyond sing here and see us reborn again. The frequency in your eye, it hurts, doesn't it? So many voices, so many cries, all echoing in your head. I know you can bear it, just like you always have. With your half-human, half-tacit Discord body, can anything even hurt you? Or kill you? But your mind, I don't want you to feel all that pain.
Disdaining fortune, with its power clutched in our grasp before its fall, we shall wield it and call forth every forgotten soul. That was your promise to me. But without Leviathan's power of unity, I can no longer grant them all a rebirth within the beyond.
But you still can. You're saving us now. I just want you to finish Cristoforo's plan first. The seabed is in chaos. Now isn't the best time to bring us back. Merging reverberations with tacit discords, keeping our consciousness alive while creating new vessels for us. Don't you want more time to make it perfect? A true revival, done the right way.
Even if I agreed to help you first, she would never allow it. She would fight to the end to stop us.
The beyond is merging with you. Once you gain the strength to open that gateway, you can keep her there. With us. Forever. Oh, you're hesitating. Is that moment you two shared really more important than us?
You misunderstand. A seat in the beyond has always awaited her. Trapping her now changes nothing. In the end, she will fulfill her promise to me there.
I'm just gonna say it. Whoever this Grand Architect is, he is an asshole. This entire scene shows him manipulating Frolova into doing his bidding. Every time she tries to argue back, he throws her lost loved ones in her face, using them to control her actions. We continue to see Frolova's torments throughout this chapter. The constant voices of the dead weighing on her. One of the hardest moments to watch is when she walks down the hallway and the voices are growing louder and she begs for silence.
Silence. I need silence.
Eventually, Frolova and Rover reunite. In the middle of a battle, Frolova sees everyone again. Suddenly, they all look up, and an asteroid is descending upon them. And, well, let's just let this scene play out.
tranquil slumber. The weeping child lingers no more. Instead, she raises her hand and claims that vaporous drop.
Rover awakens in what appears to be a different world. We see a flashback of Frolova in a village with all the people we've encountered throughout her story. As Rover explores the village, she finds notes scattered throughout a home. One note details Frolova's countless experiments. To me, this moment reveals her breaking point. But at the bottom, she writes, "I saw Triss again. I have a direction, a new anchor. Maintaining this balance of using each other is the best outcome." I'll get into this later, but the Triss she saw was actually the Grand Architect manipulating her. When Rover steps outside Frolova's home, tacit discords are everywhere, but the villagers are gone. These tacit discords speak with the same voices as the villagers. Rover realizes that Frolova is using the gem to fuse the tacit discord's bodies with human consciousness, trying to resurrect the people she lost. To fast forward a bit, let's watch the flashback scene of Frolova's past.
How were your performances? All smooth, I hope?
What? Oh. Look over there! What's that? Oh.
Now we reach the point where the choices of our hero bring us to the present. This flashback shows when Frolova and Rover first met. Frolova shares stories of her past with Rover, letting out all her trauma and feelings to a stranger. She asks Rover, "Do you think the one that survived suffered more than the ones who died that day?"
Why is our world like this? What do you mean?
If this world can't be changed, then maybe it's time to take a different path. Even if it's nothing like before. Just like how I chose to change myself.
You changed yourself? What kind of change was that? That sounds intriguing. I wonder if each of us can change in that way. I've gained more than I imagined from this performance. But it's still not good enough. I want to include the voices of the past, making that history a true part of it. Is that a promise? All right. I'll be waiting for you then. I'll save you a VIP seat next time. Besides, I also want to hear more stories about how you started over.
At this point, Rover is in denial. She doesn't believe she's the friend Frolova speaks of. She wonders if Frolova is deceiving her, or if this is just another illusion. But considering how brutally honest Frolova has been, why would she start lying now? Early in Frolova's home, we come across this note. This tour led me to a friend. She understood the true emotions woven into my music, and before I knew it, I was sharing stories of my homeland. I told this stranger everything without restraint, and somehow, I felt lighter. She listened as though she truly understood. What experiences allowed her to understand such despair? I hope to see her again at the next concert. I want to know more about her story and what she meant by starting over. I apologize if I butcher these towns' names. Tricktown, she didn't come. Peora? She didn't come. Mendon, she didn't come. Scob, she didn't come. Dolores, she didn't come. Kentart, she didn't come. Kor, she didn't come. She will never come. We also see one of Frolova's cherished possessions, the concert ticket for Rover. Once again, she stood before the music hall's entrance, with this ticket in her hand. She began to forget what exactly she was waiting for. The friend who understood her music, or the path that she shared a similar destination. The crowds thinned, the doors closed behind the last of the audience. Yet, the ticket remained in her grasp. Then came the clarity. She had waited for neither. She was only waiting for a small thread to hang on to, a lifeline she dreamed of. She would wait no longer. This is when the Grand Architect uses an illusion of Triss to take advantage of Frolova's vulnerability. Remember how she wrote, "I saw Triss again"? That was this moment. We also see the years Frolova spent trying to bring her loved ones back, whether through her power or through science. She even experimented on herself to find a way. But the scientists she turned to only used her as an experiment for their own selfish pursuit of immortality. She pled for help, but the people rejected her. They cursed her and turned her away, seeing her as nothing more than a monster. In the story Hidden Lycoris, we also learned that Frolova quietly observed other Fractsidus members in the lab, watching their experiments on human integration with the Tacit Discord's flesh and their advances in overclocking technology. She saw the burning desire in their eyes, their struggle towards evolution and rebirth. After failure upon failure, Frolova was done asking. So when the Grand Architect appeared to her disguised as Triss, she found new motivation. But it wasn't just Triss. He used the images of everyone she had ever loved to drive her forward.
Make her last longer than she did yesterday. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Time will creep forward to the last syllable of recorded time until the day she's more real, more joyful than ever before. Until the day Leia drives with you to another concert. Until the day old Aeschylus rehearses by your side once more. Until the day you voice the apology you denied your mother all these years. Even a fragile civilization deserves the right to grow. And you, Frolova, will be the beacon of that hope. The road ahead will be long, grueling. Such is the nature of any righteous cause.
The Grand Architect exploited every emotion she had. He used her regrets and her memories of her loved ones, even her mother, as a tool of manipulation. Rover soon realizes that Frolova has recovered, and that what we're seeing is Frolova showing her past. But this entire exchange is incredibly heavy.
That piece. Did I really hear it before?
Whether it's real or not, it changes nothing.
Throughout this mission, Rover expresses concern about Fenrico, but Frolova constantly reminds her that these worries change nothing. Does it matter? She asks over and over. To Frolova, none of it matters. She will complete her desires no matter the cost. As a quick note here, I'm not going to get into the boss fight of Fenrico, but good god, Kuro Games is cooking with these cutscenes. The cinematics from version 2.5 onward are some of my absolute favorites. After defeating Fenrico, we finally arrive at the heart of this story. The gem now lies between Frolova and Rover. Rover tries to reason with Frolova, telling her that her dream is unattainable. And honestly, this is one of the best written dialogues in this story. Frolova, as always, doesn't hesitate to call Rover out. She asks, what gives you the right to pass judgment? She has no fear of starting over again. Now this next part, yeah, I had a full oh shit moment. Frolova is furious. Rover continues to plead with her, explaining that the tacit discords fused with human consciousness aren't real. They can't truly be brought back to life. But let's just watch the scene play out.
If you continue turning the entire town into that, you're not creating a paradise. You're creating a hell.
The villagers are dead. So, you saw them in their human form. Then how can you claim my goal is unattainable?
That line hit hard. It really made me question how Rover could be so certain that Frolova's goal was impossible. Frolova herself is part tacit discord, and has survived far longer than any normal human. If she can exist in that state, who's to say her plan couldn't work in some form? Now, obviously, we can debate the morality of what she's doing. The villagers are dead, and the ethics behind her actions are questionable. But from her perspective, she's doing what no one else could. Their conversation then turns to how the Fraxis constantly use each other for their own ends. Frolova admits that they showed her a way forward, but she's willing to pay any price to reach her goal. She also says something profound, that without trust, there can be no betrayal. And after everything we've seen, it's clear she's speaking from experience. She tried to follow the right path once, and it only led to tragedy.
After all, even if you believe with all your heart, even if you wait patiently at a crossroads, the one you're waiting for may have long since forgotten you, forgotten the promise they swore to keep. I waited for a long time. I won't wait anymore. What was once an unforgettable encounter between us can now be the thread that weaves a paradise for them.
You can't help but feel empathy and sympathy for her. Rover tells Frolova she's gone too far. This is where their partnership ends.
You're one to talk. How amusing. You, with your long life and its endless possibilities, still choosing to start over, even at the cost of all your memories. The irreplaceable bonds, the emotions that make us human, are the brightest lights and most precious treasures in our fragile existence. What madness, what cruelty, what impossible goal would drive you to cast them all aside? You've gone further than I ever could. Perhaps you believe more than I do, that only in endless time can true eternal perfection arise. That only then will a brave new world arrive. We walk different paths, yet in the end, we are both driven by the same madness. Why argue who's fallen further? The only difference is that you've forgotten it all.
And honestly, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments on this. Rover says Frolova never understood the true value of life. But I have to disagree with her. If anything, I throw that question back at Rover. Do you understand the true value of life? Frolova lost her family, her friends, everyone she ever cared about. She values them more than anything. The only other person who ever came close to understanding that was, well, Rover. They fight over the gem. It looks like Frolova has the upper hand with Christopher Rowe's help. Words are hard, guys. But Rover manages to throw her sword and pierce Frolova, knocking her off the ledge. At that moment, we see the Lost Beyond merging with Frolova. Text appears on the screen. Once, I dreamt that we were dear to each other. I woke to find that we were strangers. Then we see Frolova and the villagers standing before the entrance of the Lost Beyond. This scene reminded me a lot of Gladiator, that longing for a home and peace. Except here, the licorice flowers replace the wheat fields. Watching Frolova look back at Rover while Rover walks away, let me know in the comments what you thought of this. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but I like to believe Frolova still sees Rover as someone important to her. There's clearly more left unsaid between them, but not now, not in this moment. They go their separate ways. Later, Abby confirms that the Lost Beyond has merged with Frolova, and that she's still alive, which, to be fair, the game already hinted at that. Her report says that Frolova can heal herself in 18 minutes, including organ restoration. When you go inside the Lost Beyond, you can actually find Frolova and talk to her. She's not thrilled that you're there. She tells Rover that she'll gain nothing from this bygone realm. You're given two dialogue options. Choosing bygone but cozy earns a gentler response since you're acknowledging the peace of this place. The second option, though, threw me off. Honestly, I didn't like how Crow Games handled it. The line, "How much of what you said is true?" sounded like it might lead to clarity, maybe admission or confirmation that Rover really was her long-lost friend. But instead, Frolova deflects. She says the people here are of no use to Rover and vows to protect this place. Rover asks, "Till the end with your life?" And Frolova answers that she will protect the realm she created, no matter what. Frolova promises to bear all of Rover's hostility and tells her to stay away. Whatever Rover does, Frolova will be there until the end. And then, to frustrate me even more, Frolova asks the final question. What exactly are you here for? Rover's answer, to watch what my foe is doing. She says she'll return often to watch Frolova. Frolova responds that she will never truly be able to rest here. When that scene ended, I just sat there staring at my screen thinking, how did we get here? That was my biggest complaint about this part of the story. The tone of this dialogue felt a bit off. Let me know in the comments if you agree. You can continue to return to the Lost Beyond afterwards. You can't talk to Frolova anymore, but throughout the day, you'll see her interacting with the villagers, quietly watching over them. In the Midnight Podcast, Frolova reflects on how her initial plan may have failed, but she's determined to try again. She doesn't want the people trapped in the Lost Beyond forever. She raises an interesting question. If Rover had never forgotten their promise, would they have walked the same path? It seems like Rover responds to her, but we don't hear it. Even if she did remember, it sounds like Rover would still disagree with the path Frolova chose. Frolova also mentions that she still has some chips to play, and will continue exploring the world for answers. And honestly, I get it. She's questioning life itself. After surviving this long as part Tacit Discord, Frolova has also been observing people like Cartathea, and with the version 2.7 coming soon, we now have characters like Galbrenna, who seem to have experienced some kind of rebirth, so it makes sense that Frolova wouldn't simply accept the answers she's been given. There's also a side mission called Flames in the Deep. This story shows Frolova and Septimon exploring the undying monsters that the Dark Tide has created. I have a feeling we could run into more missions like this in the future. Now, my overall thoughts of this story, I didn't think Rover was right most of the time. The way she handled her conversations with Frolova felt cold and short-sighted. I understand they were fighting for their lives, but still, I think there's room for growth here. Maybe even a redemption arc between the two. There's a conversation between Rover and Frolova that captured their tension. Let's play that here.
Resonance abilities are tied to emotions. If your stubbornness drove you to create an entire scenario, then I'd call it an obsession.
Perhaps.
Yes, Frolova's determination to keep her promise has become an obsession. One that's damaging her mentally. But Rover criticizing her so harshly doesn't help. There are better ways to reach someone who's lost in grief. It'll depend heavily on how the writers handle this story going forward, but my gut tells me they'll keep the two of them as tragic opposites, forever at odds. Still, I hope that changes. Their story is deeply complicated. Frolova has made terrible mistakes. People have died because of her actions with the Fractsidus, but I genuinely believe she could one day become an ally of Rover and the others. We already see her return in the 2.7 trailer, seemingly helping the Fractsidus again. My assumption, the Grand Architect pulled her out of the Beyond to complete Cristoforo's mission. There's no doubt she's still using them for her own ends. And judging by what she said in the Midnight podcast, her goal remains unfinished. So what the future holds for her, we'll just have to wait and see. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this story. Do you think there's truly a villain here? What do you think we'll see in 2.7 with Frolova's return? And how do you interpret her relationship with Rover? I'm really curious to hear your takes. Thank you all for your continued support. Make sure you hit that like button and the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Bye!